Preparing to die. The sun had only just begun to peek through the windows when a little white Yorkshire Terrier jumped onto the bed and began to scratch at its owner. When the initial scratching proved ineffective, the dog added in a little whine. And when that whining was still not enough, the dog began to bark. Until, okay, I'm up. With this, the old man rolled over and the dog moved in toward his face, wagging her tail speedily as she licked him. "Good morning to you too, Charlie," said the old man, laughing, moving his head to and fro in a failed attempt to avoid her tongue. As the old man sat up, Charlie jumped off of the bed and ran to the bedroom door, which was still closed. She turned back to the old man and wagged her tail and gave another quick bark. "I'm coming, Charlie. I'm coming." The old man opened the door for Charlie and she went running into the kitchen. First, she drank some water. Then she ate a bit of food. Then she stretched a bit. Then she drank some more water. Then she ate some more food. The old man exited the bedroom a few minutes later, dressed in an all-gray sweatsuit. As he poured himself a thermos of coffee, Charlie ran to the front door, where her leash and harness hung, and barked some more. The old man let Charlie run down the 3 flights of stairs on her own as he waited for the elevator. When the elevator door opened on the other side, Charlie was sitting there waiting for him. Her tail wagged behind her as the elevator opened and revealed the old man. She immediately rolled onto her back and the old man bent down to rub her belly. Good girl. Good girl. Once Charlie deemed herself satisfied, she jumped back on all fours and ran toward the nearest bush for some inquisitive smells. As she sniffed, 2 young women walked by in bright neon sweatsuits. It was the same 2 women they saw every morning on their walks, but the old man could never remember their names. "Good morning, Cody," they said to him. "And good morning to you too, Charlie," they added as they passed. Cody and Charlie took the same route every morning. Charlie smelled the same bushes, peed in the same spots, pooped on the same lawn, and barked at the same garden gnome she barked at every day. When they neared the flight of stairs, Cody let Charlie go and headed towards the... 3 blurry figures stood over Cody, becoming slightly clearer each time he blinked, until they all took shape as familiar figures from around the complex, though Cody didn't know a single one of their names. Charlie was barking at each of them, one after the other, warning them to step away, but also asking them to help. Then she directed her attention to Cody, demanding he stand back up. "Mr. Wettenberg, sir, are you okay?" asked one of the blurry, unnamed neighbors. "What happened?" said Cody. "You were standing by the elevator and then you just..." "Oh, Charlie, won't you shut up? I'm fine." Charlie immediately stopped barking, switching instead to licking Cody's face, slobbering all over him. Cody tried to sit up, but immediately became dizzy and fell back down. He closed his eyes and held his head and tried to push Charlie away, but eventually gave up. Charlie had always been persistent when it came to licking faces, especially Cody's. Besides, the saliva was starting to cool him down, so he permitted it. Then he embraced it. "Jody," said a man now kneeling over Cody, "call 911. "No," said Cody. He opened his eyes and tried to sit up, mumbling something about insurance and how he couldn't. He passed down again. "Cancer," said the doctor. "The sort of cancer that, if stopped earlier, could have been easily treated, but it wasn't caught earlier. Instead, it had been caught late. Very late. Too late. And as a result, it could no longer be treated easily. In fact, it couldn't be treated at all. The doctor said he had only a month to live. Maybe 2. If he was lucky." "2 months, eh?" said Cody. "How lucky am I?" "Some aren't so lucky," said the doctor. "Some are dead before they even know they are dying." Cody mumbled something under his breath about luck and death. After a moment, the doctor went on. "I would suggest that you get your things in order while you still have the time and the energy." He fumbled through the top drawer of his desk, pulled out a business card, and slid it toward Cody. Cody picked up the card, but did not say a word. He looked at the card, read the front, flipped it over, read the back, and then looked up at the doctor. "He's really great," said the doctor. "I recommend him to all my patients who are, well, dying." The doctor didn't respond. After a moment, Cody stood, pocketed the card, and left. Cody filled Charlie's food and water before pouring himself a glass of whiskey. As he drank, he stared at the card. It was rather plain, having only a photo, a job title, and a phone number. The photo was of a young man no older than 25. He had a mustache, horn-rimmed glasses, and slick-back blonde hair. His job title was the death coordinator. Cody grabbed his phone and dialed the number. "Why, hi there. You have reached the death coordinator, where death is made just a little bit easier. How may I help you?" The voice of the death coordinator was so joyful, so energetic, so innocent that Cody lost all of the words he had rehearsed in his head. "Why, hi there. You've reached the death coordinator," said the same voice, though with a little less certainty. "Where death is made just a little bit easier. How may I help you?" Cody lifted the whiskey to his lips and took a sip. He watched Charlie as he ate. Then finally he said, "My name is Cody Wettenberg. I'm 72 years old, and I just found out I only have a month to live. 2 months if I'm lucky." 2 months, huh? Wow. Well, that is just wonderful news, Cody. You have called me at the perfect time. Perfect. 2 months gives us plenty of time to coordinate your death. Most people don't call me until after they are dead. Or, well, they don't call me. A loved one does. And they ask me to coordinate their entire death in just a couple of days, which isn't an issue. After all, I am the best death coordinator in town. Ask anyone. But 2 months. Cody, is it? 2 months will give us a lot of time to have some fun. Cody could hear the death coordinator typing on the other end of the phone. "Now, Cody, tell me, what do you know about death coordinators?" "I know that you, coordinate things," said Cody. "And I assume what you coordinate has one thing or another to do with death." "That's funny," said the death coordinator, and you could tell from the tone of his voice that he truly meant it. "That's good, to still have your sense of humor. Death isn't easy, but humor makes it easier. That and death coordinators. That's what I always say. I say, death isn't easy, but humor and death coordinators make it easier. It's true." And it was true. He did say it often. "As you have said," the death coordinator went on, "my job is to coordinate, and what I coordinate has something to do with death. You see, most people think dying is easy, but it isn't. There's so much that needs to be done even after you are dead. For starters, what do we do with your body? Do we cremate it or do we bury it? Do we stuff your ashes into an urn, a wall, or pour them out in the park? And if so, which park? Should we turn those ashes into a necklace? Or how about a ring? They can really do anything these days when it comes to ashes. And if you want to be buried, then where do you want to be buried? And in what sort of casket? And your stuff, your home, your belongings, your money. What do we do with it? And You're hired," said Cody, interrupting the death coordinator with his listing of things that needed to be done. "Pardon?" "You can coordinate my death. Just tell me where to go and I will be there." "Oh boy, Cody, that is just wonderful news. Yes, sir, I promise. No, I guarantee. I'm going to make this death so easy for you that you'll wish you could die twice." "I'm sure I will," said Cody, patting Charlie on the stomach. "Listen," he added, "wherever we go, I need to take Charlie." I see. And who exactly is Charlie?" Cody was surprised to find that the death coordinator looked even younger in person. As they went through the usual pleasantries, he loosely constructed the premise of a joke in his mind based on the novel Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Something about how the death coordinator was actually an extremely old man, but appeared young because he feasted on the remaining life of his customers, giving him eternal youth and his customers eternal death. But he struggled to find a smart or witty way of doing so, and before long, the joke had fallen apart. "Before we get into the fun," said the death coordinator, "it is important that we get some logistics out of the way. After all, as you have recently been made painfully aware, tomorrow is no longer, it is no longer a guarantee." He looked up at Cody, but did not get a response. He cleared his throat and continued. "For legal purposes, it is important that we get your will out of the way. I would like to start by first considering your largest possessions, your house, your car, any collectibles or high-value items, things of that nature." "No need," said Cody. "I want to give everything away." "Well, the thing is, except for one thing," Cody interjected. "Her." Charlie looked up at him as if she knew she was being talked about. She lifted her head and dropped it right next to Cody's hand, glancing at it until it was finally lifted and rubbed against her. After Charlie's fate had been determined and the will had been written and every signature had been acquired, the death coordinator placed the will in his filing cabinet. "Now that that's out of the way," said the death coordinator, walking to the bookcase across the room, "it is time for the fun. Planning your dream funeral." The shelves were filled with binders. The death coordinator rubbed his hand against the spines, reading over the codes that Cody could not decipher, and selected 3. He set the 3 on the table. "Here are 3 clients who had very similar preferences to the ones you have shared with me. However, they are 3 extremely different budgets. I prefer to show my clients what each spending tier can get them before they decide on their own budget. That seem fair to you?" Cody nodded. "Wonderful. So this client here," said the death coordinator, placing his hand on the first binder, "spent about $30,000, while this client spent about $6,000, and this client spent roughly $18,000. "Jesus," said Cody. "It'd be cheaper to just stay alive." The death coordinator laughed hysterically, which startled Charlie and caused her to bark loudly. This quickly stopped the death coordinator's laughter. He straightened up and adjusted his tie and cleared his throat and then spoke very seriously, taking Cody through each binder, page after page. He provided Cody with his opinions of each page, the reviews from his customers, some much-needed facts, the price points of each particular item, and so on. He went over every necessary detail and thought deeply before he spoke. He made sure Cody understood everything he said before he turned to the next page. With a clear budget now in mind, along with a deeper understanding of the type of funeral Cody hoped to have, the death coordinator took Cody and Charlie to a part of the city they had never seen before. There were warehouses in all directions, yet no clear signage to differentiate one from the other. Abandoned cars, windowless and tireless, were scattered throughout the streets. In the alleys, men and women rested beneath shredded tarps. There was no greenery in sight, only dirt and scraps of metal and rubber from torn-apart tires and loose piles of trash and concrete slabs partially torn from the ground. "Here we are," said the death coordinator as he pulled into a small parking lot. "Caskets, urns, and more. Home to the largest selection of caskets this side of the Mississippi. And more." A young kid greeted them at the door. He wore a yellow shirt with 2 vertical red stripes and a name tag that said, "Hello, my name is Tony." His pants were red, as were his shoes. "Good afternoon," said Tony in a monotone. "Welcome to Caskets, Urns, and More, where the dead come to rest peacefully. How may I aid in your mourning process?" But before Cody or the death coordinator could respond, Charlie took it upon herself to let this young man know exactly how he could help. "Charlie," said Cody, "you stop that right now." But Charlie did not stop. She only barked louder as she lunged forward and attempted to bite the young kid. The kid, however, did not flinch. He just stood there, staring and blinking, almost wishing to be bit. Anything to get a day off of work. Or even a couple of hours. Cody pulled Charlie away as he followed the death coordinator into the warehouse, past the young kid, who didn't seem to care that they were now walking away. The warehouse was filled with thousands of caskets separated into dozens of categories that Cody had never before associated with caskets. Up until that point, he thought all caskets were built the same. After all, what difference did it make to a dead body what the casket was made of, how it was shaped, or what artwork was included? And yet, there were thousands of possibilities. Tens of thousands. Each with its own subtle design. There were caskets made of mahogany, walnut, cherry, maple, oak, or pine. Some used gold, others silver, some bronze. Some were half couch, while others were full couch. Then there were the various interior designs, including the pillows and blankets and choice of linen. Some had sayings stitched into the casket for the dead to read during their eternal rest, while others had sayings etched into the exterior for the entertainment of worms. Cody looked over each casket. He studied their designs. He felt their linen. He pressed his palms against the pillows and judged their softness. "Get in," said the death coordinator. "Try them on for size." So he did. He climbed in casket after casket. He lay this way, then that. He closed his eyes and carefully listened to every inch of his body. And after 30 or 40 caskets, he decided on the one. The death coordinator was ecstatic about the decision. He grabbed one of the cards from the casket's pouch as Cody climbed out. The card had all the information the cashier would need to order Cody the proper casket in time for his upcoming passing. "Now," said the death coordinator, handing the card to Cody, "let's go look at some flowers." By the time they made it to the cash register, Cody had accumulated a thick stack of cards indicating his selection of wreaths, picture frames, easels, bouquets, candles, linens, pallbearer gloves, and several other things. He set them on the counter, and the cashier, wearing the same uniform as the young kid up front, grabbed them and studied them one by one. "Oh boy," she said. "These are some truly beautiful pics." She then looked up at Cody and said, "I am so sorry for your loss, sir." Before Cody could respond, the death coordinator interrupted with a hearty laugh. "No loss," he said. "These are for his funeral." "Oh," said the girl, a smile overcoming her face. "That's good. I thought somebody had died." "No, no, no," said the death coordinator, still laughing, still smiling. "Not yet," added Cody, less of a smile on his face. As she scanned the cards, the cashier said, "I always wondered what it would be like to plan my own funeral. I think about it every day, but it's always changing. Sometimes a customer brings up a card and I think to myself, I would love that at my funeral. And other times I think, I would hate that at my funeral. There are so many things to consider. And you only get one funeral. It's the only thing in life that you only get one of. You can always get married again, graduate again, have another birthday party, another anniversary, go on another vacation, but you can't die a second time. You only get to die once. So you want to make sure you die right, that you die in style. That means your funeral needs to be..." As she continued to ramble, Cody watched the number on the screen climb higher and higher, moving into the next column and then the next, growing a comma, then moving somehow to yet another column. She was still yammering about her dream funeral as Cody reached into his pocket and selected 3 credit cards to spread the charges. After his total had been read to him, in the same perky, happy voice that had moments ago greeted him, he handed over his cards and watched as his money was swiped away. Before leaving, the death coordinator handed one final card to the girl. "For when you're ready to plan your dream funeral," he said. While Cody took Charlie for a short walk in search of a patch of grass for her to do her business on, the death coordinator returned to the car and made a note of all the purchases made inside. He took the cards and inserted them in their proper slots in his binder. He made a few calculations and looked at the estimated budget formed earlier in his office and made some quick adjustments. With Cody still not back, he pulled out his phone and scrolled through portfolios of prior clients. He found some with similar caskets, others with similar flower arrangements, and one that had the same combination of picture frame and wreath. Cody opened the back door for Charlie and helped her to climb inside. Then he took a seat beside her. Charlie immediately formed a donut shape and rested her head on Cody's lap. "The budget is looking good," said the death coordinator. "I think you made some really great decisions in there." Cody mumbled something about money and how little it mattered now. The next few days were dedicated to the touring of local cemeteries. At each of the cemeteries, they were guided by a plot agent, who showed them every section of the cemetery which had plots available. Each of those plot agents spoke lovingly about their cemetery, telling Cody all of the things their cemetery had to offer that others didn't. They were expert salespersons with pitches so well rehearsed, so perfectly written, that Cody had to fight the urge to buy every plot offered. "This is the cemetery every person hopes to one day be buried in. The souls here are happier than even the souls up in heaven. And I mean it. They often say, 'No thanks God, I am good right here. This cemetery is all I need.' It's true. And this area of the cemetery is typically reserved for people of extremely high regard. Presidents, national heroes, Nobel winners, star actors, and so on. But seeing that the death coordinator brings us so much business, I can probably get you in. And while visiting your burial site, your loved ones will be able to sit by your graveside and watch as the ducks play in the lake across the way. And during the evening, the sun sets directly behind the lake, and the view from this particular plot is absolutely breathtaking. And during the springtime, your spirit will be provided with unobstructed views of the cherry blossoms, which add a level of beauty that other cemeteries have for decades attempted to emulate, but cannot seem to master. And so on, and so forth. But in the end, it wasn't Cody who chose his final resting spot, nor was it any of the beautiful words from the plot agents. Instead, Cody left his decision to Charlie. For of the 162 plots he was shown, there was only one plot that Charlie approached. She gently kicked the dirt around until it was warm enough, then she nestled herself atop the little piece of metal that marked the location of the plot. Cody knelt down next to Charlie and petted her softly. "You like it here, Charlie?" Charlie looked up at Cody with big, round eyes. She didn't make a sound, but she did gently lick Cody's hand and wag her tail softly. Cody looked up at the death coordinator and said, "This is the one." "What a wonderful choice," said the plot agent beside the death coordinator. Cody had almost forgotten all about him. "This is such a beautiful plot. I will go write the paperwork up now." The plot agent then climbed onto his golf cart and drove away, back to his office, leaving Cody and the death coordinator standing there while Charlie quickly fell asleep. Over the next couple of weeks, Cody, the death coordinator, and Charlie planned the rest of the funeral. They chose the venue, designed the tombstone, attended several tastings for the reception, and had Cody fitted for the suit in which he would be laid down for his eternal rest. When all was said and done, and the entire list had been checked off, Cody had nothing left to do but wait for death to finally come and finish the job. "Be careful in these final days," the death coordinator said to him after their final meeting. "Remember, debts and taxes cannot be evaded, not even in death. I have had many clients in the past whose husbands and wives, fathers and mothers, sons and daughters, and forgotten cousins went wild on their final days, buying everything, going everywhere, burning through money that was never theirs to begin with. This sort of recklessness left my clients mourning the passing of their loved ones while also assuming responsibility for their newly formed debts. And I'm not sure which is worse for a person, the grief or the debt. After all, one fades with time, while the other only accumulates." With these words in mind, Cody spent his final days showing Charlie as much of the city as he could before he was gone. He took her to every park and beach and down every street. He wanted her to smell everything. After all, the smells were free. "Smell this," he said to Charlie, and "Smell this," he said, and "Come here, Charlie, you need to smell this." It was on one of those walks during one of these smelling tours of the city that the cancer finally weakened Cody to his knees. He collapsed on the sidewalk, and the leash with which he held Charlie in place dropped from his hand. But Charlie did not leave Cody's side. She stayed in place and barked at every passerby in sight, demanding that one of them, just one, come to Cody's aid. But every person who walked by averted their eyes, each assuming that the next person would take an action they themselves refused. They each told themselves that if it had been another day, another situation, another time in which they weren't in such a rush, they would have been the one to stop, the one to call for help, the one to act. Any other day. But today of all days, they were so incredibly busy, and they hadn't the time to stop and check on this fallen man and his barking dog. It wasn't until the sun had set and Charlie had given up entirely on her barking and instead had rolled into a donut by Cody's side that an older lady, while on her way to the bus stop after a long shift at a nearby factory, finally knelt by Cody's side and felt for his pulse and realized that he was dead. She looked at Charlie, who looked back at her, and her eyes filled with tears, as did Charlie's. The lady wondered who to call first. 911, the city authorities in charge of keeping the streets clean of dead bodies, or animal services to come and take the dog. In the end, she called the city, which sent a truck and a few workers to collect the body. In the left breast pocket of Cody's shirt, the workers found a business card for the death coordinator. On the back it said, "If found, please call." And so they called. "You have reached the death coordinator, where death is made just a little bit easier. How may I help you?" The next day, the death coordinator called everyone who needed to be contacted. And all the while, Charlie lay there by his side. The death coordinator had provided her with a bed, some bowls for water and food, a few toys, and several possessions of Cody's to keep his scent around for as long as possible. Between incoming customers and phone calls, the death coordinator took Charlie on walks around the business complex. He had never really noticed the garden on site, but it had quickly become Charlie's favorite place to smell and the death coordinator's favorite place to sit and think. He had never really smelt the city before, but now he had learned to love it, along with the sounds, the cars, the planes, the nearby conversations, and each day after work, on their way home, the death coordinator took Charlie to the cemetery Cody was buried in. There was no need to guide Charlie by leash. She knew exactly where to go. As soon as he let her off of the leash, she ran directly to the freshly laid dirt and, after a little digging around to create herself a warm spot to lie down, she formed a donut in front of the tombstone, which read, "Here lies Cody Wettenberg. Beneath his name were two prints, one of Cody's left hand, the other of Charlie's paw."